I did it, Christian.
That was a good take. Yeah.
Oh, I did it. Okay. Now we're just going to get right into things because I'm not going to waste any more time. And people are like, what are they talking about? I got Christian here. He is the editor, director, writer of our films, right? Am I missing anything?
I'm whatever.
Yeah, you're the everything guy. I got you here in studio. You've been here for about 3 weeks now?
2.5.
2.5, 3 weeks. Yeah. We were in the middle of producing the film, the next film that we're coming out with. And I don't think we actually settled on when we're releasing the name and all that stuff. So I'm just not going to mention on this recording because I'm not sure when this is going to drop. But I have you here in studio, and we thought it'd be a good idea to sit down, do a recording, have a good conversation with you for the people. And because you're heading out tomorrow to go back to Texas for a week, and then you're coming back. It's just a constant back and forth here, trying to do some films and getting people entertained and having some fun in life. So, dude, we have had a couple of bizarre experiences, I'd say, since you've been here.
Going back to the last trip too.
Yeah,
the one we took for your other project. You're still keeping pretty tight-lipped, but the last month and a half of things that we've been doing, some of the people we've talked to, some of the things we've experienced, everyone always makes the joke about you that you're the one that never sees anything. But the last 2 weeks, I feel like that's really changed.
Yeah, no, it's. I experience things. I just don't. I don't know. Like, I don't experience it like you guys experience it. It's different for me. I don't know. Maybe I try to tune it out,
Yeah, it's tough because you think about all the people that call in to your show and you're living through that comparison. You're like, my life is not what theirs is at all. And the last 2 weeks, you finally experienced some weird stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so you were here during the recording of the Portal Babies.
Yeah.
And you were at the Airbnb. And so when we were all sitting at the table where you're at right now, I was talking to you during that recording, I believe. So, I mean, it kind of gives people the gauge as to how long you've been here and all the things that have transpired in the last 2.5, 3 weeks. I mean, you and I had that experience at the Airbnb together where we both saw that entity thing. I don't know how else you would describe it. I mean, how would you describe that?
Don't know.
Don't know.
Don't know.
Don't know. Don't care.
We saw the same thing, but the interesting part of that was we acknowledged it at different times.
Yeah.
I had seen it earlier. A white light go left to right out of the corner of my eye. Didn't think anything of it. I've seen lights pass by before. I mean, they just had the lights go out at that place, came back on right before we got there. And then, 30 minutes later, you bring it up in conversation again, and I say, oh, you saw that too.
Yeah.
And point to the exact spot. This is what it looked like. This is how it went. And it was confirmation that we both saw the same thing.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. I think the more I hang out with you guys, the more weird things are starting to happen to me. So I'm interested to see where this wild ride goes. Now, I want to let people know that you were on this show before. What episode number was that?
I think 187.
187?
It was first time I had ever been on a podcast, I think. And we had rescheduled. Now I understand the rescheduling process. I've seen behind the curtain of the Confessionals. And I will say, you put in a lot of work, but it's a miracle that this stuff ever gets out. Like, you've got stuff with the kids, and then being in Tennessee for the last 2 weeks, seeing the wild stuff that calls you out of the studio, the people that show up. I don't know how this show ever gets made with the little time that you do have.
I mean, it's literally sometimes, and I tell people this, and I don't know if people actually believe me or not, but I mean, I literally, I'll come in, you see how it goes. So, I mean, I would say 95% of the time, every morning, you've been waking up with me, and we're leaving the house at 7:15, driving my son to school. We're in the studio by 8 working, and we work all day long. And there's a lot of times that I still have work to do. So around 5 o'clock, I go home and I spend the evening with the family. I put the kids to bed, and then I bring my butt back here and I work till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to get everything done. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I was, when I quit driving truck, I was like, all right, now I can breathe again. Like I can just basically have one job. And it's like, okay, nope. Now I'm just working more on one job. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. And it's been interesting. But yeah, it's just a lot of work. It's a lot of work doing this. And basically what it is I'm a guy with a lot of dreams, and aspirations, and that requires work, A lot of times people, they have thoughts and dreams and ideas, but it never translates into action. And so, when those people who have those thoughts and dreams translated into action, they know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a lot of work, Yeah.
That was a funny episode. I was sitting in my car.
187. I'm looking at it now. East Texas Sasquatch.
I ended up emailing you. And I think Lindsay replied, having no clue that I would end up living in your basement a couple years later, making a movie with you. It's funny how things work out. But yeah, we had a tornado warning going on at like miles from my house, and I'm just sitting in the car hoping this tornado doesn't hit. I've got a barn right next to me with all this loose farm equipment, thinking, like I'm talking to this paranormal podcast, trying to focus. I'm just making sure the pitchfork, like 50 feet away, doesn't lift up and fly through the car. So it's probably not a great one, but
well, it definitely isn't a great one, because you said in the comment section, people are like, "This sucks."
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of like, you've got some great episodes. I don't have a lot of stuff to give compared to like 335 when we went out with Kyle.
Yeah.
Or the Enochian tech story. Like, you've got some great storytellers on this podcast. And I was like, I've got all these family stories. I saw some ghosts as a kid. I've got a lot of stuff I held back. We didn't even go much into my family's high jump stories, or I think it was the year later we ended up meeting in person. And then I ended up explaining, like, I actually did treasure hunting for a living, treasure hunting and diving.
Yeah, like you didn't even mention it. Like, dude, you buried the lead. You buried the lead. Like, I'm like, you're a treasure hunter? Yeah, we should have led with that.
And the last 3+ years, you've been saying, because I was making a treasure documentary at the time, doing all this diving for a pirate silver legend in Texas.
We're going to get into that, by the way.
And you're like, man, I want to make a documentary. You called me every few months, and you'd always say the same thing. Like, you'd be driving in your truck, or you're like, I'm leaving the gas station right now. I'm about to get back on the road, but I want to make a documentary, man. And for like a year and a half, I was like, cool, sounds good. Let me know when.
When?
And then finally, a couple years later, you said, there's this guy in Kentucky. We're thinking about visiting him.
Yeah.
Like, could you help film? And at that time, your mind was so closed to what you could do. And because you started the YouTube channel, you had the Chasing Legends thing, and then that evolved into what you were calling Legion of Legends.
Only because apparently somebody else had Chasing Legends already. Yeah. And I didn't know that. And they're like, way to rip off other people's names. I'm like, bro, like, I don't freaking, like, I don't even know who else is a paranormal podcaster half the time. Like, why would I know a YouTuber? You know? Like,
yeah. And we went into it thinking, okay, we're going to film a YouTube video for Tony. But as someone, like, I've been able to experience a lot of cool things. So, I used to live on a tour bus. I've done stuff with History Channel. I was with you in Illinois, shooting stuff, trying to sell it to Discovery.
Yeah.
Like, I won't really say no to anything, because I'm one of those people. I like to live for legacies and having those experiences. And I think all of us will be in a really cool place in 50 years when we explain to grandkids what we did. So when you get called, like, hey, we helped this guy film looking for these werewolves. And I didn't believe anything at the time. I grew up in Texas. I heard about the Rougarou. I spent a lot of time in Central America. They've got similar stuff called El Cadejo. It's just like the upright walking dog. And heard all those stories, didn't believe anything. You're like, you got to listen to episode 335, man. We want to go out and film with this guy. I'm thinking about it from the anthropological perspective. Not, is
That's
this
where you
thing
went
real?
wrong.
Yeah. Not like, is this thing real? Whether or not it's real, there's something interesting about it. Because if it's not real, then why are these stories circulating around? Why was this one area of Kentucky, why did it have 100+ years of sightings in that place? If the stories were fabricated, what did that mean to that community? And particularly looking into folklore and treasure stories, you realize that pretty much everything you hear is going to be based on something truthful, which is a little unnerving when you look into the paranormal. I've also studied, deception and stuff throughout college, and being in documentary filmmaking for a time, you can see when someone's genuine and when someone's not. When I got into the car with Kyle, within 10, 20 minutes, I was like, this guy is actually serious. I hadn't met Ward. I hadn't met Joel. Didn't know much about Kyle. I'd spoken to you once. And then all of a sudden I'm in Kentucky with a camera. And I'm like, this guy's actually serious. We're going to go out and look into this stuff. He's pleading with me to talk you out of it.
The guy who brought me down is now asking me not to do what I came down to do. I'm like, Kyle, I'm already invested, bro. I'm either going to die or live at this point.
Yeah. We spent a week in that cabin. Came loaded with some cameras, some guns. You guys did.
Yeah.
I was relying on my
ninja
beliefs.
skills.
Yeah, well, I was relying on my beliefs for safety, thinking, I'm betting on this thing not existing and hoping I'm safe out here. After what happened to Joel and I was a little more nervous. Here's one thing. I don't even think I put this in the movie. I don't think I did. I haven't seen them. I haven't seen the movie since we came out with it, so I completely forgot.
Like literally, you just said to me this week and stuff that you sent me the movie to work the audio, and since I fixed the audio on there, you didn't even watch it again.
I don't think I've seen it all the way through.
But I totally get it. Like it's one of those things where you watched it a million times over and over again, putting together. You don't want to watch it again. Yeah. Like that's the way I go with my show. I'm like, I already had this conversation. Why would I want to sit here and listen to it?
The amount of times I've heard people reference old episodes to your face, and you say, "What are you talking about?"
I don't remember. Yeah, I talked to a lot of people. Let me just take a pause here before you get into that story that didn't make the film. Expedition Dogman is now on Amazon. It just, as of today, our recording here, we found out a day or two ago that it was put on Amazon. It was a long time coming, but it is now available either on Amazon or Merkel.media. You can do either one. So if you're somebody who is anti-Amazon, you can still purchase or rent the film on Merkel.media. But it's pretty cool. So if people listening right now, even if you have watched the film, if you just want to do us a favor and go ahead and get, you should just rent a copy of it off Amazon, watch it again, and then leave it a 5-star rating and review. That would help us a lot as we're trying to bust into this whole paranormal filmmaking industry, which we could probably talk about a little bit later and stuff, like the future of that. But tell me this story. Like, do I know this story?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if I ever told you guys during the week. I actually think I did. That first night that we were sleeping out there, you guys are in the bunks, and I'm on your spare air mattress in that main room.
Yeah.
And we've got the one window, which is right above the AC unit. And for some reason, I wake up from a nightmare in the middle of the night that was only a few seconds. And it was this deer on its hind legs looking up, and it was under this like beautiful tree with these sprawling branches, and it was full moonlight coming through the branches. And this deer was standing up, and it was skipping backward. And it was so unnerving that I immediately woke up and I looked at the window and I never said anything. And I was like, man, what's happening to me? I've been to some weird spooky places, and I have I've never been like creeped out by an area. I wasn't even, I was thinking about werewolves, dogman the entire week. I don't know why I was seeing this upright deer skipping through the woods. It was just weird. Like I showed you the witch trailer the other day from A24.
Yeah.
I love A24. But there's the black goat in that trailer, and it does a hop, and it was really similar to that, but it was backward, and it was looking up, and it was like it was just losing control of itself, like it. I don't know how to explain it. I had this nightmare. I wake up, look at the window, nothing there. I think I told you guys during the week, and I was like, it just feels weird out here. We were talking about enchantment, curses, or whatever.
Ward was.
Yeah. And then the months later, Kyle ends up calling me like frantically, and he's like, why are my kids talking to me about stuff? And this barely made the end of the documentary. I was like, this is an interesting ending because it gives a taste that whatever this is continuing. And his kids are seeing it. Like his son talked about the man with antlers outside of the window. He had started to see the man with antlers. And then Kyle said, why are you not telling us about this? Who's the man with antlers? Why is he looking at you? And his son says, he's not looking at me, Dad. He was looking at you. And I was like, that's really weird because I had an upright skipping backward deer in this dream just for a few seconds. And it's weird. I don't usually hear stuff in dreams, but this one you could hear the hooves on the dirt. It was dirt underneath this tree. And that is all I heard. I'm not saying it's something paranormal. It was just really weird.
I'll say it's paranormal. Are you sure it was a dream, by the way?
I hope so. But I immediately woke up. That air mattress was flat. And then I look at the window and I go, great. Not only is something, not only is like the devil looking in, but this air mattress is flat. So it's like the worst combination for trying to get back to sleep.
Man, I'm trying to sleep. The devil's chasing me and the air mattress is flat.
And it was that first day when we were all like, 7 a.m., let's get at it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, how about 10 a.m.? And I was like, I like this group.
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, when you're in the South, you got to go the speed of the South, right? I mean, everything slows down here. It's like, okay, 10 o'clock is a suggestion. And if you plan on 11, you're probably right. So I love it, though. I love living down here. I love it in Kentucky. I love that whole journey. And it's interesting because that dream lining up so well with what Kyle told you, and then it's almost like a precursor to what was next for the next film, you know? I mean, going out to Skinwalker Ranch and all that stuff. It wasn't even that, like, in that film, didn't his kids say, like, I think it was one of his kids said it. I know what that is. That's a Skinwalker.
Yeah. He knew what it was, and Kyle and his wife had no clue how they were told that. I did not know that lore was associated with that area, but it most definitely is. And he's since moved. I don't think anything has happened since to his kids. He's called me several times after that film with just weird stuff happening. So it's not an isolated event. What happened in 335? It seemed to touch upon, stuff related to either an area, stuff related to a bloodline, which we went fully into with some of our recent projects. And is some of this stuff connected?
Yeah.
Are there multiple connections that could be made?
Yeah. Kyle, he shot me a big long text recently, offering, I'm not gonna get into details, but offering for a very long journey with him. And I just remember literally as you were saying that, I'm like, I never answered that, but I will answer it. I'm gonna be like, maybe he'll hear this and he'll know. I don't have the time for that long journey, bro. He's, I don't want to put his business out there and stuff, but he's got to do something really cool. And he's like, you want to come? And I'm like, Yes, but I don't have the time for that. So yeah, but it's really kind of cool how somebody who emailed me because he heard my show and he liked how I guess talk to people and stuff, offered his story for my show, turns into this film, and along the way develop a friendship, you know. And it's kind of cool in the sense that he's kind of like me, actually a lot like me, which makes him a really good friend. And that's a both way street where he doesn't expect anything out of me and I don't expect anything out of him. Like, he's the kind of person that you may not hear from him for 2, 3, 4 months, 6 months at a time. And it's just him. He just drops off the map, and then, you know, all of a sudden he pops back in, checks in, hey, how you doing, kind of thing. And, you know, there's a lot of people that my personal experience is I do the same exact thing. People are like, dude, I haven't heard from you in a while. Like, where have you been? And it's just like, bro, don't hold me to any kind of social standards. I come around when I come around. I'm a busy guy. If you can't handle that, you're never going to hear from me again because I don't got time for that nonsense. And he's the same exact way. So him and I get along so well because it's just like, we there's no social pressures either way. It's just like, hey, whenever we talk, we talk. So it's kind of nice. But yeah, I mean, we went out to Utah and we shot the film out there, and that's what's in the middle of editing now. And you know, I tell you, I mean, maybe by the time this even airs, it will the trailer will be out at least and stuff. I'm not sure how the whole timeline is going to run, but it is looking freaking awesome. I mean, like, I've been saying this a lot, but I think it'd be interesting to hear your take on it as far as your perspectives and stuff. I've been telling people left and right that if you liked Expedition Dogman, you have literally not seen anything yet. If you liked Expedition Dogman, like, this film is going to knock you off your feet because and I'm really setting the stage for you, a lot of pressure. But in all seriousness though, because we went to Kentucky with no game plan. I assembled a team of guys. We showed up together, met each other essentially for the first time. I was the only, you know, common denominator between everybody. And we basically did a shotgun style where we ran around the woods shooting film. And I could see the gears working in your head. You're like developing the storyline as we're doing this. This time going into it, we had an idea of what we wanted to do and a game plan. We brought on some team members that weren't there last time, like Joseph, who was a producer for us, and so he was really organizing the whole thing and making sure everything was good. How do you feel about this film that you're personally putting together for the people to enjoy? Do you think that it's on the level of Expedition Dogman, beyond, hopefully not below?
I think it's well beyond how it's structured. What's the statement that you told me a couple weeks ago about your podcast episodes? Like, you want them...
Yeah, I want them to be so when I started Pennsylvania Sasquatch Research, I had this saying that I told people, and it kind of carried into Confessionals. I want you to be entertained, be inspired, or be educated. And if you hit all three on one episode, it's a grand slam. But I'm really happy if I can do one of those three things.
Yeah, I think we're aiming for all three in this. We touch on things that in that area may have never been connected. We went into theories that could explain a lot of what's going on. And we don't come right out and say, here's what we think. Like, we went out looking for information. We spoke to certain individuals that a lot of times had opposing viewpoints. And we are going to present that and say, this could solidify what you were thinking. This could completely change your mind. I would love for people who have, you know, really deep opinions on what's happening at Skinwalker Ranch, what happened at Skinwalker Ranch, what is continuing to happen in the Uinta Basin, and go, you know, I may need to reevaluate, or this was really useful information. However, I am going to continue in the way that I think. I'm really interested to see in the future how this is received, because, as you know, there's a lot of media right now about what has happened, what's going on at the Sherman Ranch, and people are kind of waiting by the hour to hear what new information is coming out. I mean, there are websites out now where you can pay.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you can pay to see cameras of what's going on.
Yeah,
you know, shoot the cameras in at the Sherman Ranch, and I think that's great. I think it's helped to bring a lot of interest in the supernatural and unexplained phenomena to a lot of people. And we went into it with two different kind of themes. None of us are scientists. I said on Joel's podcast the other night, I'm not sure people would be very interested in seeing Joel with test tubes and some scientific equipment trying to figure out what's happening.
Yeah, and just to let people know, Kill the Mockingbirds is a podcast.
None of us are scientists. Everything you hear about the Sherman Ranch, it's through the scope of science. You've got a multitude of books, but you've got two main books that have come out, and it's all been shaped around these different scientific organizations or government programs that were involved with the ranch. None of us are trained scientists. None of us are going to come up with a theory, test that, and then, display our results in a way that's going to be credible. And none of us can figure out what's going on. And so trying to write a direction for this film, I said, well, what's the opposite side of that? And we went into this idea of science versus spiritualism. If there's been scientific activity at the ranch for 20 years, but there's 1,000 years of oral tradition in that area that have been explaining these things, who would have a more fleshed out area there? Like, how does 20 years of scientific research compared to 1,000 years of walking among the phenomenon? How do those two compare? And I had just come back from Central America and spending a lot of time with the Maya. And I experienced things there. I was told certain stories. I was told background of their folklore. And I did have experiences in Guatemala. And my mindset, this was, 2-3 weeks before we went to Utah. My mindset was, we should focus on the native perspective and try to really get deep on what's going on. A lot of times it's brought up, it's called Skinwalker Ranch for a reason. And it's because it was this dominating folklore in the area among the Ute tribe that's currently there. It really is part of a reservation. But if we went in, and there's two sides of documentary filmmaking, there's objective truth. We're not out there to give a documentary on the history of basketball. Not everyone's going to agree on what we're pursuing, or you can pursue someone's truth. And that's what we chose to do out there. We said, let's go out there. We were given some wonderful tips. And Joseph and I went out a day early. People started walking to us, asking to have their stories told. And right off the bat, we said, what's going on here? If these people live next to the most studied piece of property in terms of the supernatural in the world, why are people coming to us saying, no one's listening to our stories? And so it's almost this counter narrative of what is being put out about the history of that place. And there's a lot. How much research I did into the theory that's not even making this film.
Not this film, but we are going to, I'm just going to say it. We're going to have a spin-off of the film, and there's going to be a docuseries that goes into depth on some of the things that you've uncovered since filming.
It's scary stuff. We've had, and we'll talk about it in a second, we've had technology that we felt was tapped. We've had stuff glitch out that has never done that. Our first day out there at the ranch, Joseph and I filmed something on accident. And this footage keeps getting deleted from our phones on 2 different phones.
Yeah.
This specific video is being deleted. Then we get a call from you telling us to not film in a certain direction. And it's like, okay, why not? I know the legality around filming in that area, but how did... I wasn't understanding how that could go missing. I was terrified to connect my laptop to the internet. We had already filmed an interview. We didn't have mics with us. So I set my phone out and I record this interview through my phone audio. And I'm frantically texting it to like my dad. I'm texting footage to my dad and I'm like, please save this somewhere else. We are losing footage. We're losing audio. We don't know what's going on. Would you agree that you felt that someone knew that we were, I mean, other than the owners, but some outside source, some entity knew that we would be out there?
I would say from anywhere from human to non-human entities, there was forces out there that knew we were there and was zeroing in on us. I definitely would say that. And I didn't get a sense that they were okay with it. Let's put it that way.
No, but we were in an interesting position because we are not a TV crew. We did not come out with $1 million budget. That's why I'm excited about doing things with you.
We came out with a $5 million budget.
We're in this middle ground that I feel is a really interesting place to tap into, because you've got kind of 3 levels of productions. You've got YouTube, really low budget, bare bones stuff, which is interesting. Not sure it would garner the most attention in terms of attracting attention to theories, whatnot. And then you've got TV. And then with my experience through TV, working with Discovery, Sky, History, whoever, you go through a bunch of gatekeepers. Within 2 seconds, you can get a call and say, actually, someone at the top, we're not naming names, someone at the top doesn't really like this aspect of it. They don't like the part that if you're filming a documentary on skinwalkers, they don't like the part that you're mentioning dark magic or occultism. They don't like the part that you're mentioning. They don't like the specific phrasing in this one interview. So let's not air it because we need to keep the gatekeepers happy. By the end of the episode, it's all complete. It's on TV. You've got a super watered down, condensed version of what you filmed. And so with us, not really having the gatekeepers, we go out, we do what we want to film, and we've got a really good feedback loop through your podcast. You're like releasing stuff here and there. People are always messaging you saying, it would be awesome if you got this perspective. I mean, you were getting tips emailed to you from people like as we were going out there.
Yeah.
And that was really cool to work with. I think one person that's done a great job at tapping into this is, you said you met him recently, Seth Breedlove.
Yes.
And Small Town Monsters.
Yes.
They've done a great job at realizing that TV is never going to tell most of these stories in a way that's authentic.
Keep going with that. Let me just say, they cheat you as the audience. You are being cheated. You think that you're watching a film that came through a big production company, or you're watching something on TV and you're learning something. They're cheating you because they're taking information away from you because the higher ups say, oh, we don't like that. They don't even know what you like as the audience. They're just taking it away from you. And it drives me nuts. So go ahead. Yeah, Seth Breedlove's doing great.
I think there's a place for TV in reality TV.
Sure.
Like I'll always have some positive opinions of it, but it really does go through this process to where your initial idea is completely changed by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
What was I going to say there?
Well, you were talking about Seth Breedlove and how he's really kind of tapped into this middle ground between the two. And I agree. He's been doing it with Small Town Monsters for quite a while. In fact, I recently had dinner with him here in Tennessee, and we were talking about this stuff. And I had no idea he was doing as long as he was doing. I thought he started up around 2017 when I started my podcast. He was doing it longer than that. And I just want to put this out there for everybody listening and stuff. There is no competition between what we're doing here and Small Town Monsters. Me and Seth, we smoothed it all over dinner. No, I was kidding. No, we had a dinner together, and we actually talked about this exact thing. And it's just like, people who think that it's a competition, they've already lost, because it's not a competition, because we feed the monster together. He makes stuff, I make stuff, and what we're doing is we're putting stuff out in the same ether, and we're building it together. Like we're two separate entities doing our own thing, and we're feeding this monster together. And when people think that it's a competition, they're already cornering themselves off from everything else that could help them. It's just kind of silly.
We'll end up, collaborating on something at some point.
I'm sure. If not him, then I'm going to take all his people. And I'm kidding, Seth. I'm kidding.
But they do a great job at realizing that there's a middle market, and the people that don't want stuff produced for TV, and they don't want to watch videos of guys walking around in the woods for 2 hours looking for Bigfoot. There's stories out there that need to be immortalized. They need to be told. And you move to a great area to do that.
Yeah.
Right here in East Tennessee, you've got missing 411 stuff going on. You've got bases. You've got absolutely everything.
You were rattling it off just the other day. Like small people, Bigfoot, dogmen, underground military bases, Oak Ridge,
witches,
tons of witches, witchcraft. We got Nebo Mountain. I mean, we got it all. I shouldn't even said that because people are going to go looking for it.
No, do not go looking for it.
No, don't go to Nebo Mountain. It's nothing paranormal, but you will die.
We have been told by some of the highest decorated, most storied Iraq war veterans.
Mm-hmm.
That's not somewhere you want to go to.
Yeah, and it's like 20 minutes from my house. Let me just tell you guys something. I've been learning since moving to Tennessee that one of my special talents is the ability to get really talented people in the same room together. I didn't know that was a special talent, but it turns out it apparently is. And Christian, you can actually confirm this, what you were just saying and stuff. I mean, we literally had one of the country's #1 emergency medics on the battlefield in my office, along with one of the country's most decorated snipers, most accomplished snipers in our military in the office together with one of the country's most in-depth understanding homesteaders. And like I had like multiple gun channels and YouTubers, and we all just had this like big meeting and stuff. And it was just like, how did this happen? You know? So, I mean, these guys are, they're in here and we're talking and I brought up Nebo Mountain and Andy just looked at me. He's like, don't go to Nebo Mountain. He's like, don't go there. And so I was like, okay, point taken.
I don't even think you can find information online on why not to go.
Yeah.
We were just told it's a place that doesn't want the outside world coming in.
Yeah. Anyways, I just sidetracked this whole conversation. The reason why I said, let's name off everything that's in here. This is a weird area. You said I moved here. It's a perfect area. Go ahead. You don't even remember where you're going.
No, but I think the last thing I said was witches.
Yeah.
Which goes into.
Well, I mean, I don't want to jump too far ahead on that one. But let's wrap up that thought though. At least, I mean, we're basically living in an area where we can really do some damage with what we do. So Merkel Media is eventually going to go beyond paranormal. I would really like to do treasure hunting stuff since I have an in-house treasure hunter.
Last week you had guys in here reviewing a flamethrower.
Yes, I literally had because all right. So we're hosting another podcast in the studio here. They need the facility, and they're talking about flamethrowers and bringing in like ammunition and guns in here. Shout out to Black Diamond Guns and Gear. But yeah, I mean we're looking to do more than just paranormal right down the road. Like obviously paranormal is what we do now, but eventually one day we'd like to do more. But building this platform is obviously going to be circled around the paranormal for the foreseeable future, and living in this area is just perfect. It's just perfect. I mean, there's just so much here. It's great. I love it. Yeah. So, all right. I guess what we'll do is, do you have anything else you'd like to talk about though on the filmmaking side of things before we start transitioning? I mean, like, I guess we could talk about it later if it comes up, but I just want people to know that, we're here and we're working together. We have a whole team of people. Everybody's very talented and we're really trying to make some really cool stuff for you. And I mean, I'm assuming Christian feels the same way. We really appreciate all the positive feedback we've been getting on Expedition Dogman, and we're really excited about releasing the next film. And the future of filmmaking in the paranormal is very, very bright with the kind of talent that is coming into this field, like Christian, like and really my entire team. Ward and his camera, but like Joel and his music and stuff, and Joseph and his background with 30 years of Hollywood experience, and Joseph's been on Broadway. Like I got a team of guys here that just really know their stuff, and it's and they're all bringing unique things to the table that's going to make an amazing product, absolutely amazing. So I know so. So. I'm really excited about it. Merkel Media is something that we're really going to be building here going forward in the future. I truly believe that in the next year or two, all you guys are going to be living here with me in Tennessee doing this on a very regular full-time basis. That's my dream and goal, man. I want to see it happen. Everybody just move here to Tennessee and make really cool crap all the time. That's my Instagram bio right there. Like that's what I say I do on Instagram. Like I create cool crap. That's just what it is. So.
Or you tell me what cool idea you have, and then I make it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. I'm a sourcer. I source things and I distribute I'm like, here's an idea. Run with it.
I think we've planned 3 or 4 reels. You woke me up this morning and you're like, man, I have this reel idea.
And we didn't do it. We could still do it before, I don't know.
It'll get done at some point. It's an evergreen idea.
Yeah. It's not. Listen, what I've learned though over the last few weeks is that it's different. Like this whole thing, everything I'm doing, it hits different when I actually have somebody here working with me. It's like, whoa, this is cool. Because like, you're in the studio most of the time doing your thing and I'm in the office and we're both doing our thing. And then you're airdropping files to me to work on audio and clean audio for you. And I airdrop it back. And it's just like the workflow was getting worked out. And I was just like, this is cool, dude. This is really cool. And so I'm excited.
Yeah. Shout out to airdrop. I'm not sure if one of us was not on a Mac. We were like, would we have to email each other?
Email each other, Dropbox, put it on a thumb drive, walk it over, AirDrop is just instantaneous. Bing, and it's done.
Disgusting.
I love it.
Yeah, you like not getting up until you come in to ask what I feel like for lunch.
Which is usually like 8:30 in the morning.
8:30.
I'm walking in here like, so what do you think about for lunch today? Listen, you're talking, am I lying when I say I eat one time a day?
No, you do.
I eat once a day.
You've changed my system too.
Have I? You have no choice.
I never ate breakfast. And then I started calling you 2-meal Tony because you eat 2 meals at lunch.
At one time, yeah.
And I was like, you're really not going to order 2, like, you would order 2 meals for lunch, like at a sit-down restaurant. You'll say, I want this, this, and this. If there are fried green tomatoes on the menu as an appetizer, those will be ordered as well. Today, I got to introduce you to like Mexican street tacos.
Yeah, it was good.
You had carnitas for the first time. You had barbacoa for the first time.
Oh, delicious.
What was your favorite?
The carnitas?
I thought you liked the al pastor, with pineapple.
I like that too. Yeah. I don't remember which one I liked more.
I've expanded your palate a little bit. We went down the street to the place that you went back-to-back days.
Yeah, Los Amigos. Or Los Amigos.
Yeah.
I'm Spanish. I could speak it, kind of. But no, yeah, I mean, I eat a lot. I eat a lot.
At once. It's very hunter-gatherer. Like you've got one meal.
I devour it and I'm good for 24 hours. It's kind of how that's how I roll. But no, I do intermittent fasting. So, I mean, I don't eat before noon and I don't eat after 8 o'clock at night. That's my window. So usually around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm really feeling the hankering to eat. And I go in and then I'm good for 24 hours. So I don't know. Anyways, let's get back on the paranormal.
I thought we're going outside the box with Merkel Media.
Yeah, we're going way outside the box. So we do the whole Skinwalker Ranch thing, and I know this is going to be in the film. But at one point, we're sitting around the fire and we're talking to one of the natives that were giving us tours around the area. And I brought up this idea to him: is it possible that we coming out here could have a hitchhiker? And I kind of described it to him, basically, could something come back with us? And he's like, "Oh yeah." And I was like, "Could it not reveal itself right away and just be months later?" And he's like, "Absolutely." And then, well, we've had having a lot of things happen since we've gotten back. I mean, Joel's been having a heyday with the Portal babies. I mean, every time he talks about it, weird, bonkers things happens. We've had, you and I have gone to Indiana, Illinois. We've had weird things happening. We've saw shadow entities in a person's home.
Mm-hmm.
And, and then we go, and then right after we see the shadow entities in the person's home, we go out in the woods looking for Dogman. And so there's that. But you just recently did a episode with Joel.
Mm-hmm.
And, why don't you tell them, some of the tech things that started happening during that recording, and then what followed that night? Because just to let people know, like, if you don't know, Joel was, if you just look at recent history on the RSS feed here for the Confessionals, the episode, what do you call it? Nephilim Portal Babies. It's a 4-hour episode where we detail everything that's been happening to Joel when he talks about a specific topic he's been diving into, which we will remain silent on this episode because we want the equipment to continue to work. So if you can just beat around the bush there, it'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'd been here for a day, and you're like, "Hey, by the way, I've got some podcasters coming in this weekend," because equipment keeps failing. And it's when Joel talked about this certain topic. And tech fails all the time. Like, just being in studio, we've had weird stuff happen. I'm thinking, okay, these guys had Skype go down or had Riverside go down. And you come to studio and all 4 guys record their experiences. When Joel comes on, bad things happen. The night before you record, Joel's trying to get on with L.A. Marzulli. His computer goes down, and then power goes off. Power goes off the same minute that there's another podcaster. He gets a text and says the power went off at his house in Ohio. I'm like, this is really weird. That's around the same time we also saw that light too in our Airbnb, or in Joel's Airbnb. All that goes down. I'm still like, these guys are kind of looking into it too much. Stuff happens all the time. But they talk about the cloud. All 4 of these people coming down had noticed this one cloud and had drawn it the exact same shape. And stuff starts weirdly fitting together. I had an interview with Joel 2 nights ago, and he wanted to talk a little bit about the treasure hunting, a little bit about the film that we just shot. And as halfway into it, as soon as Joel brings up what he talked about on the podcast episode we did last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, as soon as he starts talking about that subject, everything starts going crazy with the technology. We all get kicked out. Everything goes haywire. I'm like, this is really weird. We are never able to get it figured out. They said they'll patch it the next day. They'll have to record a disclaimer. They'll get me back on. And they've just got to explain to people that every time Joel brings up this topic, something goes haywire. Then after, I'm pulling an all-nighter in the studio. I'm trying to get this thing done as much as possible by the time I head out, before I come back. I think I'm editing until 5 a.m. And along that time, middle of the night, for some reason, my phone freezes. My phone freezes on the lock screen. It's never done that before. It freezes, and we're also working on some really sensitive stuff in the documentary. Stuff that may or may not have gotten certain pieces of equipment messed with, may have gotten our phones looked into, may have even gotten us followed at one point. And I can't get my phone to unlock. And I know you're staying up, even playing 2K every night. And I know you're probably like, are you going to come back like before I go to sleep? I can't get my phone unfrozen. I look up online how to manually reset. I'm trying to text you on iMessage, trying to figure out if I can contact you through iMessage on the computer and get it to your house or what. And I'm like desperately trying to say what's going on. Nothing's working. I leave my phone to the side. It was, right where your phone is now. It's just sitting there. Didn't touch it for 30, 45 minutes. I'm just chugging away at the film. I'm like, I'll just let the battery die. It starts calling 911. You have the photo of my recent calls.
Yeah.
And it has an outgoing call to 911. I can't hang up. I'm trying to hold down the power button now. I'm trying to double click it. Nothing's working. Luckily, the speaker was working. The county emergency services answer. They say, where is the location of your emergency? I'm planning on spending the night at the office. I'm trying to edit a film about, witchcraft almost. And I'm spending the night in this office and I'm not the owner. And so I'm thinking, oh my goodness, the cops are going to show up. I have to explain. There's a reason I'm sleeping on the couch in this office. So I'm trying to make this movie about witchcraft. The cops are going to show up at 2 a.m.
You see, there's a skinwalker and Dogman and then the UFOs.
I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to say, okay, so there's the Confessionals, blah, blah, blah. Episode 335 led to this. And then
here's how I got here.
They're going to say, sir, just get into the vehicle. Let's go down to the station. And I'm frantically on the phone. I'm like, my phone is glitching. I cannot hang up. Can you hang up on your end? And so the lady's like, so there's no emergency? And she asked 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, no, I'm so sorry. I don't know what is happening. My phone just randomly started calling 911. Staying here last night was pretty weird. When that started happening, I was like, man, there is something to this technology stuff. Either it's someone messing with us, or we had a file open up on the computer that you tweeted about.
Yeah.
When I was editing, there were files being picked up and moved and dragged across the screen.
Yeah.
I couldn't control the mouse. And I finally figured out what it was, and it was some of your recent show art, like moving around on the screen.
Yeah, but it was show art, but the title of the show art was actually an audio file that we found, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The title was an audio file. Everything was messed up. Couldn't control the mouse. Couldn't do anything. I think I tweeted about it and I was like, whoever's messing with our studio, could you stop? Because at times we've been like, you take the hard drive home every day because you're so worried about it somehow being remotely accessed or just showing up at work one day.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that we got is missing.
Very worried about that.
I didn't have an explanation for it. I'm trying to text you and I'm worried that 911's going to show up. I just know you're going to wake up the next morning and see all these.
I did.
And see this text. It's like,
what the
the
heck?
cops showed up. I couldn't do anything about it. At the time, the specific thing that I was editing at that time, I've looked into our footage from where we went to that was right next to Skinwalker Ranch. We have so many orbs in our footage. We even had orbs in footage that was shot away from the ranch in some of the interviews. As one of the subjects is talking about like non-human intelligence, there's stuff going on behind them. There's that black object going across them and going down the hall. Joel was speaking in the tent. There's some white orb in front of his face and it goes straight up. And I've gotten two on audio, 2 whispers that sound straight up like someone talking. It sounds like someone saying the word cabal when Joel's talking, and then someone saying like, that's crazy. There's like a feminine voice saying that's crazy, and there were no women around us at the time.
Yeah.
And I know it was myself, Joel, super light crew. It was myself with a camera and a mic, and Joseph actually, and then this guy that we were filming next to the ranch. And we've got this whisper, and you were out there. The wind was 40 or 50 miles an hour.
Wild.
I had a boom mic. This thing is directional. It should have only picked up us, and then maybe 30 to 40% of our natural volume level behind the camera. And you're picking up whispers out there in this wind. I didn't have any explanation for it. I've sent it to you. I've sent it to Joel. But this weird stuff has been going on with technology. Recently, right? I think you sent me that picture this morning.
Oh, yeah. Brent Thomas.
Yeah, you had your friend that had the exact same thing happen with 911.
Yeah.
And either this is an Apple glitch that's only happening to paranormal podcasters and they're outside and their inner circle, or
the common link is Tony Merkel.
Yeah, there's something weird's going on with tech.
With what?
With tech. I don't have any other explanation for it.
I listen. So Brent Thomas from Paranormal Roundtable, or not Paranormal Roundtable, Paranormal Portal. Brent Thomas hosts that show, Paranormal Portal, and I was scrolling through my Facebook this morning, and I think it was Facebook, and I saw him post about the. You know what? I have the Bluetooth hooked up here to the record. Yeah, let me give Brent a call and see if he answers here. I don't know. Hopefully he answers. Yeah, it's recording. Cool, it's recording.
Hello?
Yo, Brent, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Hey, listen, I just want to let you know I am recording you, so don't say how much you hate Wes Germer from Sasquatch Chronicles, okay?
All right, we'll leave that for another call.
Yeah, I mean, truth be told, that needs to stay in private. So, so listen, man. I wanted to talk to you because I'm actually sitting here in studio, and I'm actually recording right now a podcast episode with the director for my films, and he and I are talking about some weird things that have been happening since we started working together. And literally, dude, just last night, was Christian, was last night or the night before?
2 nights ago.
2 nights ago, Christian just shared with the audience that he, I wish I would have thought about calling him sooner, because we could have had you tell him what's going on instead of recapping it twice. But basically, he's in studio and we've been having tech issues on different things. His phone starts glitching and it calls 911. What time at night was it? Like 1 o'clock?
I mean, I have the picture right here. Let me see.
Yeah, it was nighttime though. I'm already at home, and literally I'm in bed because he texts me, and I get a text in the morning because I didn't even see it. What time was it, Christian? It probably doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But his phone glitches and it calls 911. And he actually had to explain to the 911 operator, what?
12:56 a.m.
12:56 a.m. Is when it happened. And he had to explain to the 911 operator that they need to hang up on their end because he can't hang up on his phone. Like, it's just glitching. And I thought it was like, my mind was blown this morning when I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw you posted about a similar thing. What happened with you?
Dude, I can't believe it, because I've owned cell phones for years. I mean, pretty much since they came out, even when they were big bricks that you kind of carried around in a bag, because they would never fit in your pocket. I've never heard of this happening, never seen it happen. But last night, myself and a friend, Charles, who's a paranormal investigator, were investigating a haunted bar near Rathdrum, Idaho. And we're in there, and we did a presentation and stuff to the bar patrons that were staying late in lieu of Halloween. And then he and I were going to investigate after that. So all the bar patrons and the owners leave, and it's just he and I in this building alone. And I got my phone, put it on a selfie stick, and I'm like, well, I better kind of do an intro. I tried to stream, but I couldn't. The bandwidth was just not working. So I decided I was going to record a series of videos. So I put my phone on a selfie stick, and I'm sitting there doing kind of an intro, like, hey guys, we're here at this haunted bar, telling the history. The bar used to be a brothel, and then it changed hands several times, but eventually became a bar where apparently when it was a brothel, there was a lady that was murdered there, and a former owner had died in his dwelling just upstairs. And so there is some death connected to the property, and there's been a hell of a lot of activity reported there. But I just got done recording this intro explaining all of this. And I stopped the video, and my phone is still on a selfie stick in my hand about 3 feet away from me, and nobody else is near, except Charles is about 8 feet away with his camera trying to set it up. And all of a sudden, my phone starts making a siren noise, like, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And I look at my phone. There's a red bar going down my screen saying emergency 911 call initiated or something like that, or auto initiated 911 call. And I'm like, oh my God, what the hell's going on? So and immediately I want to hang up, but I'm like, no, I don't. I got to explain to them what's going on, because otherwise, the 911 people might freak out that it was a 911 hang up. There might be a big emergency. So I hang on the line. I'm like, and the lady's like, what's the nature of emergency? I'm like, ma'am, there's no emergency. I don't know what the hell's going on. I said my phone started making a siren noise and automatically called you. I don't know what this is, but I've never seen this before, and I assure you there's no emergency here. And she said, so there's no emergency, huh? And I said, no, everything is absolutely fine. I'm sorry to bother you. And she started saying something else, and then my phone cut her off. It just cut off.
Are you serious?
And it was just, I swear to God, this is on the life of my children. This happened. I said to Charles, record this. He said, I can't. I said, why? He said, my camera is dead. It died at the same time. Now, his camera wasn't running on battery. It was plugged in, but it flatlined at the same time this 911 call happened. And it was just all at once, like, pow. And I'm like, oh my God, this is us starting the investigation. So I don't know, it turns out the rest of the night was pretty mundane. There was some weird activity, but nothing really hardcore. But that will remain one of my most incredible stories of paranormal investigating. That was just incredible.
Wow.
And again, I wasn't holding my phone. It wasn't even in contact with my hand. It was stuck in a selfie stick 3 feet away from me, just extended. I'm just holding it about waist level, and it starts alarming. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? So
that's incredible.
Absolutely blows my mind. And then you mentioned that in that posting that this just happened. I'm like, oh my God, what are the odds?
I exactly. What are the odds? Listen, like I literally, this reminds me of a story where I've told this years ago, but Dark Waters, the way him and I got connected was our phones glitching at the same time and calling each other. We didn't have each other's phone numbers. Like we didn't have, I didn't have Dark Waters' number, and he didn't have my phone number. I was like a day or two before that talking to Wes about how I want to connect with Dark Waters and have him on the show sometime. And then I'm doing a delivery and my phone is calling, or no, somebody's calling my phone. I forget how this all goes now. I had to find the episode that I talked about. But like essentially our voicemails left voicemails on each other's phones. And I call, and or maybe he texts me. I don't remember, but like I remember him being like, "This is Dark Waters. Who's this?" I'm like, "Yo, this is Tony Merkel, bro." And he's like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I told him what was going on. He's like, in Dark Waters fashion, he's like, "There's some crazy shit going on right now." He's like, "Listen, I'm in the middle of something, but I'm gonna call you back tonight." And that's how we got connected. Literally, of all the phones in the world to glitch at the same time and then call each other. It was just so bizarre. I literally talked to Wes. I was like, "Ha ha, good prank. Like, how'd you do it?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Bro, like you're the only person I was talking to about talking to Dark Waters," and it was just crazy. Wow. So the fact that this has happened now, like two phones glitching, like I said to Christian before I called you, the common denominator is me. It's all about me. So, no, but I thought it was crazy when I saw that, man. And Christian wasn't touching his phone either when it called. Now I know that you have an iPhone and Christian has an iPhone. Yeah. What you described as what you saw happen was what, a red line going down the phone or something?
Yeah, there was like a red bar going down the screen, and it said like auto emergency 911 call initiated or something. I'm like, what the hell? And the alarm sound. I didn't even know my phone could do this. And maybe somehow there's this special key combination that could initiate that in an emergency. I don't know it, and it was in a selfie stick, just cradled, and it had been there for 25 minutes and didn't initiate a call until after I was done with my video. It's like, boom.
No, I don't like this rational thinking you have going on here. Okay, knock it off. Knock it off with that nonsense. Okay. But
well, you know how it goes. If we don't do it, someone's going to do it for us. So
well,
yeah.
I'm just laying it all out there.
That selfie stick, did the whatever contraption it was that held the phone, was it anywhere near the power button?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Because
in fact, I have to be special to cradle it that way, because otherwise it'll screw up me recording videos.
Yeah, the way that you could access this is, I think, 5 clicks of the power button in rapid succession. That's how you bring up an option to immediately call SOS. And also, a lot of people, particularly like diabetics, a lot of them will list their health info. And so if they have an iPhone on them, you can immediately access this part of their phone. It will unlock and they'll say they're a diabetic, or they've got this certain medical condition. And so there are ways to almost hotwire a phone that you can quickly access that stuff. A lot of EMTs know this, but I was not touching my phone. I was wondering if this was moving around in whatever it was holding it, but if it was not touching the power button, that was not supposed to happen. Something altered the software of this phone to revert to this emergency mode.
That's crazy.
Right. Yeah. It's mind-boggling. I mean, it's because it reminds me of Skinwalker Ranch in a way, because they have on the series, they have captured some crazy stuff happening with phones. It's just going through these screens at blinding speed. And it's like, that's just not possible. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Just saying.
When this happened,
putting that out there.
Yeah, this happened at 1 a.m.
It's funny you say that.
I was editing footage. I was editing footage of our documentary that was filmed next to Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh my God! What are the odds, right? And so get this: not only is this bar is haunted, but the owner was telling me that there's been sightings of skinwalkers in the area. Hand to God. So how's that for a correlation?
I swear to the people listening right now, I didn't arrange this. I didn't tell Brent to say this. We're not trying to make the Skinwalker connection. It's just happening.
But it is. It's like, I don't know. Is it a common denominator? What the hell's going on here? It's just incredible. And I tell you, I don't get spooked usually from this stuff, but I had some serious chills after that. Like, whoa, that's pretty intense. You know.
Yeah.
Did your phone alarm as well? Did your phone give you that siren like sound too?
Yeah, I always keep it muted, and then the alarm goes off. I've got headphones on. I thought I was scared out of my mind. I thought, I'm staying alone in the office, I'm going to have to explain to Tony why the fire alarm in here is going off. There's a fire going on somewhere. I was looking for a smoke alarm. Rip these huge editing headphones off. See my phone's calling 911. My screen will not. It was frozen earlier, and I go, this is really weird. It's almost like it's overheated. I'm not touching it. I left it alone for 30, 45 minutes. No one's texting me throughout the night. I said, I'll just let this thing die. I think it was on 1%. And I said, let me just let this thing die and try to reboot it. Maybe that'll work itself out. And then it starts calling 911. And I just
what time my call was?
Yeah.
What'd you say, Brent?
1:47 a.m. My call left to 911 happened at 1:47 a.m. last night.
So
these were on back-to-back nights.
Back-to-back nights, almost to the exact time. That's crazy.
That's weird.
Actually, not the exact time, because you're a different time zone than me. Let's be honest.
Sure. Right, but still, as far as our clocks, we're pretty much almost synced when this happened.
Wow. That's crazy. Wow.
Right. Wow. I got chills.
Yeah, I'm saying, man, like there's weird things happening.
You have to have a 911 operator on the confessionals. Ask them how many times someone.
I should. Let's call 911 real quick and ask them.
Yeah. How many times is someone on the other end saying, "There's no emergency. I'm just ghost hunting right now."
Just Christian, you call them right now because they'll recognize the number. They'll know it's not serious. Then.
Yeah. I'll do that.
Holy cow.
I did leave out the ghost. I left out the ghost hunting information to the 911 operator. It's just like, I don't know what's going on. I didn't say I'm investigating a haunted bar.
That's what Christian was saying. He's like, there's these skinwalkers and then these dogmen and Kentucky and episode 335, the confessionals, Tony Merkel, like a big information dump,
Hit you with the new jacket. Yeah, they give you a brand new jacket. Yeah.
You like white, right, Christian?
It's more of a beige.
Oh God.
Oh my gosh. Well, Brent, I just wanted to hear your take on that stuff because I thought it was pertinent to what the recording was. While I have you, tell people where they can find you, man. You're a guest on the Confessionals.
Oh, thanks, brother. You can find me at paranormalportal.net. That's our new website, but we're on YouTube at paranormalportal.net. At Paranormal Portal. Just look for Paranormal Portal on YouTube, and we're on all the major podcasting platforms, just like the Confessionals. So if you love the Confessionals, check out the Portal.
Yeah. And Brent, I'm in the middle of recruiting like every friend of mine that's in this remotely close to the same industry as me. If you're like anybody, basically all my friends, I'm recruiting all my friends to move to Tennessee. Is there any chance I can get you to move to Tennessee with me?
It's a possibility, brother. I'm working on it.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like we got Brent Thomas, Paranormal Portal. Yeah. He is live on air saying, I am working on moving to Tennessee. So
yeah, worst county in the country to work in 911 dispatch.
Right?
And it's going to get worse.
I'm bringing all the weirdos in. I'm bringing all the weirdos here.
And we're bringing all our shit with us.
They're gonna be like, why is 911 so busy these days? What's the common denominator? Oh, it's right. Merkel Media moved to town. Shoot, dude. Yeah. So let that be a thing. I mean, listen, and I kind of set you up there because I knew you were kind of working on it. But
sure.
Paranormal Portal. Moving to Tennessee, hopefully. I've told all my guys, you're all moving here within a year or two. So like we're gonna Blount County, Tennessee. It's gonna be popping with the paranormal weirdos. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be like a big. We're gonna have a big compound, and it's gonna be a cult. There will be a fee paid directly to me. So.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But you've already agreed to it. Just. Yeah, you signed.
I'm sorry, my phone appears to be dying, Tony. I got a bad connection or something.
Oh man, well, Brent, I appreciate you being here, man. Thanks for chatting with me for a little bit.
Brother, thanks for having me on, and you guys have a great show.
All right, that was Brent Thomas from the Paranormal Roundtable. He's got a big fan base there. So, listen, man, I thought that was kind of weird, man. I think that's kind of weird.
It is weird. I got a nostalgic flashback just then because the amount of ghost hunters I grew up around, they would always talk about technology. And as a kid, like, you know how Ben will use the iPad or do something with electronics, and you're 4 years old. How do you know this better than me? And so growing up, I was like, hey, oh, you guys are old. Like, it's not real. You should just be able to figure this stuff out. No, man. Like, there's a connection there with tech going crazy. I mean, I've teased the idea of trying to work on a book.
Yeah.
Just involving the photography and filmmaking side of the paranormal. How many people are out there that have worked on stuff who have become believers just because of what happened to them while filming a project?
Yeah.
You know, I've got connections in TV. I've talked to the guys who I worked with the same production company that is at Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
And I have some really good friends. I've had some really good discussions. I've heard things that I'm probably the only person outside of that circle that may know about certain events. I won't go into that, but there are a lot of people out there, particularly cameramen, producers, that know a lot more than what gets put out there. There's stuff that's withheld because it's too weird to put on TV. I mean, you've talked about the stuff with Finding Bigfoot, when they ended up filming something they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And they're like, we can't even put this out there because No one's going to believe us.
Well, I mean, I asked Bobo. I was like, "Why didn't you put it on there?" And it wasn't even the belief thing. It was he's like, it's called finding Bigfoot, not finding sea serpents.
Yeah. I want to see that footage, one.
Right.
And two, I can understand because everyone accuses reality TV of being staged. My experiences were really good with reality TV. But yeah, there is that like bad aura that follows it. And I can understand why they say, this is so weird, we can't throw this out. One of the guys who was involved in the production crew of Skinwalker Ranch was, he was working on a different project, I think in California, and he was flying drone and he kept getting these light rods and it ruined the shot. He was working on some documentary and he had to go reshoot because every single shot he got was filmed. It was filming these weird rods of light, like going through this desert and bright daylight. No explanation. We've got stuff in our footage, which is probably going to make it in there. So there will be Easter eggs where you're going to get all the emails of people saying, hey, there's an orb in this shot.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
We can't even acknowledge it because at the time we didn't see it.
Yeah.
Are we going to try to break a fourth wall in this? I mean, I'm still editing. Are we going to have to break a fourth wall and say, hey, when we started editing this thing, show the editing bay and say, hey, when we started editing this thing, there's footage in here with orbs. We don't even know whether to include this or not.
Yeah. I think we're breaking that fourth wall now with the show. And I like as somebody who is new at all this, but you've been doing this for a little bit, like I'm learning that things don't make films that, like if you like, it's very YouTubey to put everything in the film because it just doesn't, it may not fit, or it may fit, it may not, but we're just going to throw it all in there. And like you said earlier, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a certain type of project. That's not what these are. And so like there are things like in Expedition Dogman that didn't make it in, and it's just for the better, of the film itself.
Realistically, this could come with something like a behind the scenes featurette with all the stuff that either we didn't get on film for whatever reason. There was no use in filming, but it was just bizarre, or stuff like it just didn't make the narrative of the film, but something really weird happened.
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff we saw that we weren't filming. Like 30 seconds before I left with Joseph, I ended up seeing the thing going across the field.
Yeah.
At Skinwalker Ranch. It looked like two giant, those like giant hamster balls that are clear?
Yeah.
And people can get in them and like roll down hills.
Yeah.
It looked like two of those, plain as day, going across the mesa.
That's incredible.
Or just below the mesa, like going toward that direction and then going into the trees west of the ranch. And I think it was actually on the property to the west of a ranch, but it was two massive clear circle things and it looked like something solid inside. I didn't understand it. I was looking off in the distance. I think I was talking to you and like looking over your shoulder. You're trying to say things to me. I'm not even following because there's stuff going on behind you.
I was like confiding my heart to you, and I was just like, Christian, I'm really struggling with this, and you're just like, uh-huh.
And it's like, as I'm driving away, I saw the weirdest thing I've seen in my life. I don't know, man. I'm speechless on a lot of this stuff, but I think something behind the scenes might be interesting.
I think it'd definitely be interesting. It's something to consider for this project, and if not this project, moving forward for future projects, because more than likely there's going to be a lot of behind the scenes footage, and maybe we could make that as something that's bonus for people who are maybe VIPs or something like that for early releases. But we kind of started this whole rabbit hole of a conversation from Skinwalker, the Sherman Ranch, to this idea of the hitchhiker, and then we start talking about the 911 call, and then we talked to Brent and all that stuff. So there's this idea of a hitchhiker, things happening months after the trip to Utah. You and I this past week had a very, very bizarre experience that really there. Let's just tell people how it played out in the order it played out, so we don't jump any steps. I'm gonna tell you a story, friends, and Christian's gonna be here, and he's gonna tell the story and jump back and forth. We're gonna tell people this story and how it unfolded. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Wednesday night, I get a text from my wife around 9:00 at night, and she says to me, "Can I take the trash cans up to the top of the driveway when I get home?" There was a couple trash cans, a couple trash bags, big trash bags, and she didn't want to drag them up there. I said yes. And so we get home, and what time? It was probably like 10:00 when we got home to my house.
Yeah. Somewhere in there.
So it's about an hour later, and because Lindsay was still awake when we got home, so it wasn't too late. And we start taking the trash up, and we first wheeled the cans up, and we get to the top of the driveway, and we're starting to walk back, and we hear something. What was it? How did this all play out for you? Like, I think you're the one that heard it first, right?
I heard it, and I mean, I'm from Texas. I hear coyotes. I live in the woods.
Yeah. You're so remote that your house can't have internet.
We can't get internet.
You don't have internet at your house because you can't, not that you can't afford it, you can't get it there.
Yeah, no one will come out and service internet in that area. But we've got a lot of coyotes coming through. Like, the area is very rural, thick East Texas, piney woods. We see all kinds of stuff. You know, I've seen something called a jaguarundi, which is a type of big cat that's not supposed to be here. You know, we've got the black, like they call them Black Panthers. I don't know what they are. I always thought they were just melanistic jaguars that came up from Mexico. Again, the state denies them being here. The area that I live sees them all the time. We've got Sasquatch sightings, everything. We hear something, and I go, "Oh, you've got a coyote right there." I felt really proud because you're like, "I'm from the city. I finally brought my family to the woods." And I'm like, "There's a coyote across the street. Good job, Tony." Like, that's cool. Like, you live on a wildlife pathway. This is awesome.
Yeah.
You're right at the base of the Smokies. This is awesome. You've got coyotes 200 feet away. It sounds like yipping. We go up and get the trash cans, right?
Yeah, we just took the trash cans, dropped them off at the top, and we're gonna go get the trash bags.
Yeah, we were going to get the trash bags.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool to hear a coyote at that time. Or whatever it was. We've got deer that go across the street from my house, make weird sounds. It'll sound like a person moaning in some way, and then by the second or third time you hear it, you go, "Oh, okay." Your mind, the way it works, it wants to, you are tuned to hear language.
Yeah.
You are tuned to hear human voice. So immediately that's your first thought, and then you rule it out. The second round of hearing this thing, we go, "Okay, that's not a deer. I don't think that's a coyote." Coyotes don't tend to stay in one specific area. I mean, if this thing is feeding, you'd hear a lot. I don't know what this is doing. It stopped doing the weird moaning. We had a lot of wind up there. You hear the wind in the recordings. A lot of wind. It starts changing, and there's emotion behind it. And we both get weird, unnerving feelings. And nothing's happened to you out here. You know, you've got a great place. And I think you start to wonder, like, did something follow me? Like, you brought up the hitchhiker stuff, or you call it passenger. Did something follow either of us? And we're thinking, like, what is this? Because this is not animal.
Right.
We are hearing chanting. We're hearing phrases.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like hearing multiple voices. And then we hear laughing.
Yeah.
And we hear crying. And it's like a cyclical thing. And my mind immediately goes to something mimicking.
Yeah. So we're hearing these sounds, And at one point, and we just dropped the trash cans off, and we start hearing this. We're trying to make sense of it, and it had actually died down briefly. And so we went down. I put the phone in my pocket because I'm recording this whole thing, and I put the phone in my pocket, and we walk down to the bottom of the driveway, get these 2 big black trash bags, and we start hauling them to the top of the driveway. And we get to the top of the driveway, we stop and start listening again, and we start hearing it more and more. And this is about a 10-minute period that we're recording here. And we start hearing it, and that's when we start really starting to tune in, and we're starting to hear these different things. And at one point, I remember I heard a breath. It goes, and that's when I was just like, oh, this is physical. This is very physical. There's somebody or something right there in the dark of night. It's right there. And that's when I had my backpack on. I had my gun in there. And I was like, go in my bag and get my gun. Because I'm like, if there's somebody, because that was after we heard the chanting. I was like, if there is some freaking witch down here doing witch stuff, and they're going to try sacrificing me or my kids, I'm like, get the gun. Because, I mean, so here's the thing. I found out just yesterday, I was talking to my neighbors about this, and my one neighbor, his wife, said to me that she was told at work, they just moved here not long ago, and she said that she was told at work that this area is very well known for its witchcraft. There's a lot of witchcraft in this area. And I told them it doesn't surprise me because these very rural Appalachian Mountain areas and stuff into Kentucky, it's like, from what I'm learning from like Big Josh, who is from Black Diamond Guns and Gear, he's from very remote Kentucky, and he's like, dude, like there's literally nothing there. Like that's why there's such a drug problem, because it's like bored, you know. Mm-hmm. And I can imagine, hey, you know, getting involved in witchcraft, why, out of sheer boredom, you know. So anyways, that's where my mind's going, you know? And so you get the gun out, and I have the gun now, and we're hearing these and these giggles, these cryings, these chants. And then we hear something that made our skin crawl. And before we go any further, I got to tell people, I did record this, and we're going to play some audio for you right now. So
we did the Instagram live.
We did do the Instagram live.
And I just knew at that time we hadn't listened back to the recording.
Right.
It cleared it up or anything. And I knew, okay, I could see the comments in my head. I knew people would say, good job, Tony. You got freaked out over a coyote.
Yeah.
Now we know that's not the case.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was still just trying to connect it. You know, you always hear it, you think human. In Texas, you hear pumas or whatever big cat it is. They sound like a woman screaming in pain. And a lot of people get fooled over that. And that's probably the source of a lot of legends. But when we audibly heard whatever this was crying,
yeah,
when we hear it laughing, I hear the crying and I go, oh my goodness, it brought me back to growing up.
Yeah.
La Llorona, you hear all the stories of the wailing woman, the woods, La Lechuza, everything. And I go, what if that's real? Like, what if did that?
You visibly got shook when you started thinking around those lines. You visibly got shook. You were like it was almost like you were out of breath. Like it took your breath away.
It's that adrenaline.
Yeah,
I've done some weird stuff. None of it ever like made me freeze. Like diving, I've seen stuff underwater. I've accidentally grabbed, I'll tell you the story later, but I've accidentally grabbed like a very large alligator gar underwater in black water. I couldn't see, thought it was the leg of another diver. I end up holding this probably 6-foot alligator gar right here. They're really docile, but like you get into the water and you know gators in the area, something moves, like that adrenaline gets going, but you don't freeze. And the last few trips we've taken, there have always been moments where something happens and I'm like, is this a different reality? Like, wake up, wake up, wake up. Is this actually happening? This was one of those moments.
Yep.
And the framework that we had was really based around Utah. We had done deep dives into this native spiritualism, been told, cleanse yourself or these things will follow you. Right now, it's across the street.
Yeah.
We've got a bush in between your house and this road, and we know it's a creek. La Llorona, they always say they travel in waterways.
Yep.
And I'm putting the pieces together in my head, and I'm like, okay, Tony has this paranormal, supernatural witch across the street that is about to go after us. And I'm like, I handed you the gun, and I'm like, good job, man. It's going to pass right through.
Well, I mean, when I heard it breathing, I was like, okay, so there might be a chance I can at least shoot it. And I'm in Tennessee, so it don't matter. Like we can do whatever.
Yeah, we heard the chanting. And
I don't want to reveal the last thing we heard.
have you ever been to a powwow?
No, I have not.
That's what it almost reminded me at first. A couple months ago, I went to the Alabama Cushada tribe powwow in Texas. And they do a lot of indigenous music for dances and shows and whatnot. And we heard it, and some of the phrases, they sounded so much like powwow music. And so I'm thinking, okay, Tony, do the Cherokee talk about this being some ancient spirit? I've never heard of it. My family has a Cherokee background. My hometown, we can get into this one day, but my hometown has a location of a supposed Cherokee massacre that was never believed to have never been associated with the Cherokee at all. It was possibly some like false flag staged event by the early Texas government, which kicked off the Cherokee expulsion out of Texas. And it's considered like one of the most dark, demonic places you can go just because of the emotion and death attached to this specific spot. A lot of people go out there and do all kinds of stuff. Clint Granberry from OK Talk and I went out there one night, and we found evidence of witchcraft. We found burnt bones in this area. But I grew up right there. And I didn't hear anything from the Cherokee stories that I had heard growing up. I grew up very superstitious. Supernatural stories were pretty common in my family, especially on my mom's side. We have a difference. When we were driving around, I asked you, do you ever hold your breath next to a cemetery? And you're like, no.
Never heard of it.
And I'm like, you were never taught when you're driving past a cemetery that it's like really disrespectful to breathe. And if you ever entered like a gated cemetery, you're supposed to leave an offering in 4 directions and do all this stuff. And my mom grew up in a place called Rusk. Rusk is really known for Sasquatch sightings back in the day. There are a lot of spirits of like Civil War soldiers there. I've got a really cool experience, a secondhand story of someone seeing the top half of Civil War soldiers on this in this forest out there. But she said she would go out with her siblings. She had like 9 siblings, I think, and they would all go out to the cemetery and watch shadow people. But there was a certain thing that they were supposed to do to like be respectful. And that was just the mindset that I grew up with, that all these things were real. There were supernatural things that you were supposed to do. We had the shadow person experience in Indiana. I didn't know anything about that. But what were we talking about before?
We were talking about the sounds.
Yeah, the sounds.
Yeah.
I completely got lost. It's been a long week. Lots of editing.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I was like, okay, all the stuff that I heard growing up, it's absolutely real. It's right across the street. It's 200 feet away from us. I'm trying to look both ways, because if we make a run for it, what happens if we make a run and then all of a sudden we see a silhouette of this thing on your front porch?
Yeah. Which, yeah. Which, yeah, we'll get to that part.
So we hear this. What's the first noise that you want to go over?
I'm going to start off with the weakest of the ones.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with the ah. Okay. Now, I want to let people know I had 10 minutes of audio.
Mm-hmm.
And the 10 minutes of audio is not here because it's just a lot of noise. I picked out 5 of the best recordings that we were able to get. Like this was happening, and some of the stuff that you're about to hear happened more than what you're about to hear. It's just it was drowned out by the wind and things like that. I just couldn't really clean it up real well. So what you're about to hear is what I just have called is the ah. Now I know that's really faint, and people might be like, "I didn't catch it." Right in the middle of that short clip, you're going to hear something go ah. And that literally is the best I've been able to draw it out. And I've worked on it for quite some time. I'll play it a couple times. I'm going to play it 3 times back to back, no commentary. Here we go. So go ahead.
I really appreciate you cutting out all of our screaming.
Yeah. The one where he was like, hold me. I was like, get off, Christian. I'm trying to record. Yeah. So, I mean, that was the I think what I would call the weakest of the recordings. It was enough to make it in here. But it definitely was one of the weaker ones. Now, what I'm going to go with here is I'm going to start with the crying, and then we're going to go to the giggles. And then we're going to go to the chanting, and then we're going to save the best one for last. Well, actually, the best sounding one, I think, is the chanting. But for the story's sake, we'll save the other one for last. So this one is the crying one that I'm going to call it. I call it crying.
That's crying.
I don't know if people heard it, but I'm going to play it 3 times back to back. At the end there, you hear Christian say, that's crying. I'm going to play it 3 times now. So I don't know if people can hear that or not, but there's a woman in the background going, ha, ha. So I'm going to play it one more time so you can hear that. Listen for that cadence and that sound.
That's crying.
I think people can hear that, right?
It's obviously a woman crying.
Yeah.
You can't hear it like we heard it that night.
No.
That was a moment we went back and forth. Okay, that's a human. We'd hear another sound. Okay, that's animal.
We thought fox for a little bit.
It'd be like deep, and then it'd be high, and we'd be thinking, okay, across the street we can't see a campfire, but there's 2 guys, 2 women, and they're just talking. Maybe they would laugh. The wind distorts it, but no, it was right there. It was right on that creek, right over the road. We think it may have even been under that. What are they called?
Just like, I don't know, like a little bridge.
Yeah, the underneath the bridge right across from your house.
Yeah, it's like a little tube that water passes through for the creek. So we were trying to kind of think through all the possibilities. And well, this next one I'm calling the giggle. So here's the giggle. I'm not sure if you can hear that. Let me play it again 3 more times. There's a ah in the background. Now, it almost sounds like a frog. And I could just tell you, I know for a fact it wasn't because of all the other recordings I had around it and stuff. But I could hear how people could think that maybe that's a frog, making that sound. Listen to the sound again and think frog. That definitely sounds like it could be a frog, right? But that's what I call the giggle because, again, in the moment, there was like this mixture of emotions happening coming out of there. It was just like, what the heck is going on? And so this next one I call the chant. And I don't know if it's a chant, but it definitely sounded like a chant in a moment to me. And it happened a lot more than what you're about to hear. But this is the portion of the clip that you could hear it the best at. And again, this is a great reason for you to follow us on Instagram because I went right there on live for Instagram after we recorded this, and I played the recordings in its entirety for people, and they were all speaking of the people because you mentioned that earlier stuff. The comments on the video were like way better than what I thought they'd be. I thought people were like, oh, it's a coyote or whatever, and a lot of people were like, "Holy crap, I hear that too" and stuff. I think there was maybe some people that were naysayers. I blocked them for sure. But anyways, here's the chant. So in the beginning, you hear the yeah, it's real faint, and then as the clip goes on, you hear that yeah. So here we go, 3 times back to back to back. So I'm sure people can hear that. It was literally, it sounds like a chant to me. She's like, and I was just like, what the heck, But I would say, well, I know for a fact, it's not even a matter of, I would say, I know for a fact what wrapped up the night for us standing out there was when it got real personal. Because we're standing there and we're recording these things. We're baffled. We're not sure what's going on. And part of me is like, I don't want to go back down the driveway to my house because I don't want whatever is down there seeing me walking to my house and follow me to the house. Like I have my babies in there sleeping, I was like, I was worried about that. At one point you even mentioned about let's get in the truck and drive down there. I was like, cool story, bro. Like, I'm not taking my truck down there. And then whatever's down there, seeing where that truck pulls into the which driveway it is, So it was way too close to home for my comfort. And then this last clip just put it over the top for me. And I'm going to tell you guys what is being said. Actually, I'm going to play it once. I'll tell you what was said. I know for a fact what was said, and then you'll be able to hear it better if you haven't heard it the first time. Here it goes. This is the last clip. So we're standing there at the top of the driveway, and we're looking down into the darkness 200 feet away, and we hear...
It's because you told me to get on the sidewalk.
Yeah, on the driveway, yeah. I said sidewalk, but I meant driveway, yeah.
And then by doing that, your neighbor behind us had a light that was shining on us, and we've got these really long shadows that cast all the way across the street.
Down to where this sound
is. So I'm thinking in my mind already, it's going to see the shadows. Its eyes have adjusted, whatever this is. It's going to see shadows and then know that we're standing up here. And as soon as we move, we hear, hello.
And that's exactly, it was a female, and as soon as you move, she goes, hello. And I was just like, oh, we gotta go. and at that point, you're walking down the driveway. I'm walking down the driveway backwards, trying to see if anything comes up the hill and to follow us, because that would have been bad for everybody. And so I'm going to let people listen to this again. I'm going to play it 3 or 4 times. Listen to it. You're going to hear her say hello. I mean, it's a good recording. I was really glad that we were able to get it, and it was just hello, and I was just like, mind blown. I'm out. Like, lock the doors, get the guns. Like, I was freaked out, and we went into the house, and you and I stood in the garage for a while, looking at the top of the windows just to see if somebody's appearing at the top of the driveway. Because if somebody's there, I'm like, oh, it's going to go down. And we eventually go inside, and I open up the bedroom door, and Lindsay is still awake. And I said to her, I need you to come out here. And we tell her what happened. I started telling her while she was still laying in bed. And she sits up, and she's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. And she said to me, the reason why she texted me asking me to bring the trash to the top of the driveway is because after she put the kids to bed, those 2 big trash bags were in the backyard because they were filled with debris and stuff from our garden she had just cleaned out for the year. And she said that she got to the edge of the house into the backyard, and she just felt really uneasy, like something was out there. And she said, I just felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. So instead of going in the house and not going out there, my wife just goes get a flashlight and then goes back out to the yard in the dark with a flashlight to get the trash bags. I'm like, dear, listen to your gut, But so she had this gut feeling, and Lindsay she has intuition. Like I can't lie to my wife because she knows when I'm lying to her. It's like she's like, "Are you lying to me?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "I know you're lying to me." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I'm lying." And so it's one of those things where I learned over the years to listen to Lindsay's gut. And so she was heavily invested at that point. She walks into the kids' rooms because we're all uneasy. And, we're thinking there's some kind of witchcraft stuff happening down the road from us. And she goes into my son's room and my daughter's room to check on the kids, make sure they're good. And when she's in Ben's room, you and I hear, it was like a thud, right? And like a vocal, like a deep vocal or something.
Mm-hmm. It was a thud, and then pretty long, 2 seconds, moan
Yes.
outside of the house in your backyard.
Yeah. It sounded like it was on the deck right outside the door.
We look for the cat because it wasn't the cat, but
Yeah.
you just want to look around and see what can make noise. Let me eliminate that. We both heard it, exact same spot. I don't think we acknowledged it for like 10 seconds. I think because you're worried about your kids, and then you turn around and you go, "Did you hear that earlier?" And I go, "Yeah, right there, right there." Now we realize that it may have gone through your backyard.
Yeah.
That was the time we went to do that Instagram live. We ended up coming back out. We don't hear anything else. Probably because it went
Behind my house.
behind your house. We went through the back. We didn't see anything. And there could have actually been something back there. It was just unnerving.
Yeah, it's true. We did walk back there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wise, boys, wise. So nothing happens for the rest of the night. And
Nope.
The next day, you were sleeping in because you were planning on pulling the all-nighter here at the office. So you've been getting up with me and coming with me to take Ben to school. You decided you were going to drive your car into the office that day. And you slept in, and I came in, and I'm working on things, and you text me that, well, I'll let you tell the story.
This is the morning of that 911 call.
Yes.
I'm leaving your driveway. I go down the road. I see two men down there. They're looking in the creek, exactly where we heard the stuff. My mind goes, why are these guys looking down there? If I pull up to them and I go, "You guys heard that too?" They're going to think I'm crazy. But I said, I need to pull over. I roll down the passenger window. This guy looks over. And I said, "Did you guys hear those weird noises last night? We have them on recording." And he goes, "I was supposed to pick up this woman at 9 a.m. I was leaving your house around 11. He says, "I was supposed to pick up this woman at 9 a.m. this morning. She's missing. The front door is open. All of her possessions are here."
She lives across, she lives across the road down where the sounds were coming from. There's an old cabin there. It's really old. And she lived in there.
And this guy says she's missing.
Front door open, right?
Front door open.
Yeah.
All the possibilities in my mind are racing right now. And I go, "Oh, great. Tony and I just recorded evidence of this woman being missing. I'm going to have to call Tony and say we're now prime suspects in the disappearance of this lady."
Perfect.
I leave you a voicemail. I send you a text message. And all it says is, "Dude." I couldn't even think of what to say at that time.
I'm like, really?
He asked me to pull in, and he says, "I'm the pastor of the church behind your house." I didn't tell him, "Yeah, I'm staying with this guy. He's like he's the coolest, biggest paranormal podcaster. There's no telling what he's summoning to this area, what he's attracting.
Good luck."
Yeah. I didn't tell him that, but I said, "Yeah, I'm not from here, but I've been staying here the last 2 weeks. We were at the top of this driveway across the street, and we heard crying, laughing, moaning, just these like guttural screams last night. weird stuff. It sounded like it was mimicking emotion or cycling through things. And this guy, he goes, I'm a pastor. I was supposed to pick this woman up this morning. She had recently contacted me because she was having, and he used this word.
Well, hold on. The reason why they're picking her up was because the house was being, the cabin was being foreclosed on.
Yeah.
And that's why they were there, because that morning, the new people who were getting to that place were moving in, like was supposed to have that property, and she was supposed to be out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's just important for people to understand why he was supposed to pick her up and stuff, is because like she's no longer supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's just disappeared on the property somewhere.
Yeah. He said she had been having hallucinations of, he called them like dark beings coming into the house. And he's like, this woman, she was 65. She didn't have any diagnosed illnesses, nothing, but she had come to him claiming to have all these hallucinations of very dark things. And so he was like, for the last 3 weeks, I had been consulting with her on the things that she was experiencing. And I didn't try to go into like, is there demonic possession involved or any of the questions that you would ask, because I'm like, there's a woman missing. The other man was her son-in-law. He's calling 911, trying to explain to them that this woman's missing. Within the next few minutes,
at this time, I'm already in my truck driving back, because I'm personally thinking like, okay, so what we recorded and heard that night was this lady, and now the door's wide. All I know is the door's wide open. Her belongings, her purse is still there. She's missing. And I'm thinking to myself, I got to go help look for somebody. And you told me about the foreclosure. I'm thinking to myself, I got to go help look for somebody that probably killed themselves. And instead of being a freaking goofball, being scared of some lady down the road and stuff, I probably should have been helping her, because now she's dead. Like, that's where my mind went. I was like, freaking A, man. Like, I like my mind was going a million miles an hour.
But I got the closure in my mind. I was like, that was actually a person. It may like we spend all day listening to people talk about witchcraft and demonic stuff. And of course, when we hear that, that's what's going to frame our mindset at the time. And I go, oh, so we may have recorded this lady. Now all of a sudden we have the best evidence of what happened to her in the hours that she was missing. You talked about the light being on in the cabin. You've never seen it on. It was on the last couple of nights. None of her stuff, if she would have left, like none of her stuff is there. The hallucinations had only started in the last 2 or 3 weeks. This is what the pastor said. And now I'm like, oh, okay, the forensics of it are working out in my mind. Maybe she was under this bridge. I don't know what the state of mind would have been. She's missing. There's a natural, like, curve to your land, and there's a patch of trees that goes in between that she could have easily followed.
Very
It was
easily.
cold. I don't know why someone, if they would have left, why they would have done this. She had a ride that morning to get picked up and taken to a new location. Like, everything was worked out. This guy was like, everything was previously agreed upon. We were supposed to get breakfast this morning. Everything's packed, good to go on her end. Like, the house sold. She was there. He saw her like 2 hours before we heard that, when she was dropped off, and everything was fine. She had met new owners, and then all of a sudden this weird stuff's going on. And you were probably halfway here. I give you another call and say she had been found. She was in custody, and don't have any updates on what happened, where she was found.
Yeah. It's still a mystery, but here's the thing. The way the pastor said it to you leaves me feeling like, okay, so good news. There's not a witch across the street that's chanting and conjuring demons. Bad news. There's a lady that even the pastor thinks is mentally unstable, but maybe she's not mentally unstable and she actually has some serious paranormal activity happening in that house. And there's new people taking possession of it. And so my job is to become friends with them to find out if anything's going on in that house. Because she said that there were things going in and out of that house. And he brushed it off as that she's mentally unstable. But she didn't, from what it sounds like, she didn't show signs of being mentally unstable until recently.
Yeah, he said he had been out getting groceries with her. Everything was fine. Just weird stuff happening in the house right across the street. Weird stuff happening along that creek. Stuff going missing. Pets going missing.
Well, when the new people, I haven't seen new people over there, but I'll bring brownies over. Like, hi, welcome to the neighborhood. Can I look around? You know, I'll just be one of those this nosy, snoopy neighbors, I guess. I don't know, but maybe I'll tell them about my podcast and they'll hear this, and that's how I'll tell them that their house is haunted. You live on haunted grounds. Welcome to the neighborhood. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be that guy being like, congrats on the new house. I've heard it's the portal to hell. Like, if I were them, I'd be like, okay, so we've got one of those neighbors.
Yeah. But I wouldn't do that. But I mean, like, any new neighbors that come into the area and stuff, like like they did it for us, and you know, we've done it for others that have come.
Yeah.
And you know,
you'd want to know. I never told you this in the first interview. I told you I had seen my grandfather who passed away. He materialized in the backseat of a car. The grandfather that was one of the highest ranking men on high jump.
Operation High Jump.
Yeah. The other one was seeing, I described it as a clown because I didn't know what a ghost or a demon was. It was someone with a face. It was almost bloody. And it was this guy talking to me. Around this time, I start seeing a lot of stuff in my own house, including, you know, faces in the walls, faces in the ceiling. I would not sleep in my own bedroom. I didn't know what little people were. I had all these weird dreams about the little people in the closet. And then I would, at night, see faces outside looking in the window. Hated sleeping in this bedroom. My parents, I think like I had to sleep with my parents for way longer than most kids just because I was so freaked out about sleeping in this specific bedroom. And then in my 20s, my mom tells me someone passed away in a motorcycle accident underneath my window outside. And I go, that would have been useful information back then.
Yeah.
I don't know how it all works, whether some of this stuff is attracted to the loss of life. You talk about like that massacre site in my town. My entire childhood was framed by this idea that death and negativity not only attracts the spirits of whatever was attached to that specific event, but all this paranormal stuff has like an easier time manifesting itself. We talked to someone recently who grew up on a property that was directly on the Trail of Tears. And she was native, and she talked about this experience of seeing all these people outside that were like spirits. I won't ruin what exactly was in it.
Yeah.
But it touches on this idea, like, is this area somehow marked by this traumatic event? And why am I able to see it? Why don't my parents see it? That's what got me into filmmaking. I literally have teased the idea of writing a book the last few years about seeing this stuff as a kid. It's tough to make friends at 5 and 6 years old. Like, imagine Ben right now if he were seeing ghosts, and how hard it would be to make friends at school when you're talking about, you know, what cartoons you all like and what your favorite color is. If you were seeing these dark things or seeing ghosts and none of them believe you. When you get a little bit older, it's kind of difficult to fit in with people because you know there's an alternate side to what reality is.
and you're trying to figure it out at such a young age. Like nobody's teaching you about it.
Mm-mm.
And you're trying to just understand your existence and place in this reality that everybody around you sees very different than you do.
I didn't know people didn't believe in Sasquatch until I was like in high school.
Oh, really?
Like middle school or high school. Because I grew up around so much of that stuff, probably 20, 25 plus family friends with sightings. Don't go by BFRO. No one reports it. Everyone has sightings. It was just like a way of life. And then when you actually start making friends and you meet people who didn't have those experiences and they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, this stuff isn't real to you? I thought about how convinced I was of this stuff. I wanted to major in primatology in college because I figured by the time I graduated, this thing would have been proven and I would have been at the front line. Like I would have been tip of the spear on studying Sasquatch.
Wow.
I was like, I would have been graduated into the most exciting time ever in primatology, anthropology. And it was just so shocking to me that people didn't believe this. Because I had so many vivid experiences like that I guess other kids didn't have. And that's why I was so attracted to photography and filmmaking. I literally asked my parents for a camera because I was like, when you're gone, I want to take pictures of grandpa. And my mom,
Wow.
it was her father who had passed away. She's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, he visits. And I wanted to take pictures of the ghosts too. We were friends with a lot of ghost hunters. And I would see all the photos of orbs, whatever, photos of, I've seen like photos of full body apparitions. I mean, I think the main story in the episode we recorded was a family friend showed me photos of the face of Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Growing up, I was 12 years old. It like scared the crap out of me. And then I didn't want to look at him again. It's like burned into my mind. But
I wish you were an artist.
there's a side to it. That's why every person I ask, I've probably scarred Wes because I went up to him when I was like, when was that live show? 2019?
It was May 2019 in
So-
Houston.
I was like 22 or 23 years old. I go up to him. I'm nervous. I'm so excited to get Wes to get Wes to hear what I've seen. Waited through a line of, I don't know, 30 people to get to talk to him. And I'm like trying to spew out all this information. I was like, have you ever heard about the pupils being vertical slits? Like that's indicative of a nighttime carnivore. It's like, it makes so much sense. If the pupils are vertical, they aren't daytime creatures. They're nocturnal. This is only present in like some felines and some crocodilians. And it makes so much more sense. And I'm trying to spew this stuff out. I'm probably tripping over my words. So when I end up meeting Wes, since he's moving down here apparently,
Yeah.
he's joining the train.
All right, so pause for a second. You just said something that, like, Wes is like, wait, what? Wes, first of all, I've invited you millions of times. Second of all, it's bound to happen. So just give in and just do it. Just jump in and do it. I mean, Tennessee's great year round. Just do it.
Yeah.
Anyways, go
So
ahead.
I'm hoping he doesn't recognize me from that. But it growing up, it was very difficult. It was almost upsetting because, I mean, you want people to believe you. If you've seen things, how are you going to make friends? Especially here, like in the South, where everything's doused in the religious perspective. I was growing up, I remember being in Sunday school in church, and I had seen these things. I had seen my grandfather, and I was taught that he was like an angel of some sort. And they were trying to illustrate the point that heaven is like somewhere else. Like there's a disconnect between earth reality, and they're teaching it to like 7-year-olds, 6 or 7-year-olds. There's earth reality that's going on right now. And then there's heaven where you go after. And I'm like, no, like my grandfather was here. Like I saw him, like my sister and I saw him at the same time in the backseat of my mother's car. And that was the experience that turned my father into a believer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was such an impactful event. He's yelling at the sky after we pull over. My sister's going nuts. She's trying to say the man or like grandfather was trying to hold her hand. I don't have
Wow.
much of a memory of this, but my mom was trying to get my sister to stop crying. We both see his upper half like materialize in between us. I think we're both in car seats. And my father pulls in behind and he's yelling at the sky and he's like, leave my kids alone. He's doing what any dad would do. But the experience was so real that he felt like he had to do that. He felt like we were threatened because my sister was crying. And that really shaped what I wanted to do. And now I'm like, I've seen the other side. There's stuff out there. How can I sit in an office for the rest of my life trying to sell something that does not give any meaning to your life?
Yeah.
I want to help people share their own stories. That's why I loved finding out there were these podcasts, because I think you were the first one I emailed, and I emailed you this super long email that Lindsay probably skimmed
Thanks,
over.
bro.
Yeah, now that I've seen you, I know never to do that again.
Yeah, just give me the highlights.
Give me the bullet points. But I was like, finally, I feel like someone's listening to me for the first time.
Yeah.
And I've had all this stuff happen to me. And then I listened to an episode and I'm like, oh my goodness, other people have seen this too. And it's nothing like TV. It's nothing like everyone tries to say it is, that it's isolated stuff. So many people have experienced this. I don't know the correlations, the connections between everything. I'm excited for the future that we learn more. We may be able to figure some of this stuff out. They look into bloodlines, they look into blood types, locations, the religious aspects of it. Everything's different. But that molded what I wanted to do. And then the future of Merkel Media is like giving us and so many people in the same vein the opportunity to do that. It's like, how many stories are out there that should be told? How many people are going to be able to find out stuff through what you put out or through what we make together and say, oh my goodness, I had those experiences too. Like, I'm not alone in this.
Yeah. I mean, that is, you could have said it better than me. You said it way better than me. I'm saying you're just looking at me like, oh yeah, I should probably talk. No, but you're absolutely right. I agree with you. That's really the foundation of everything that I've started. Is sharing stories with the world. And when I was a kid growing up, I always loved when I was surprised. It was like a surprise for me when I would turn on a movie or turn on a TV show, and right in the beginning, it says based off a true story. I'm like, oh, I hope this is a really good story because it's true, and they're like based off, which means it's like, oh, he said this once and then we're going to build a whole story around it. But I didn't know that, it was the idea of true stories. And ever since I was a kid, that is what grabbed me. And so when you have these fantastical stories that they say is based off a true story, well, that's what Merkel Media is. Like, it literally, that's what it is. Based off a true story, everything. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. I mean, it's like I said earlier in the beginning stuff, we're going to be venturing out into other things. Like, we're going to do treasure hunting stuff. And it basically, if I think it's a good idea, if I think it's cool, we're going to do it. We're actually, hopefully, within the next, let's just put it this way, in the next couple of years, we're hoping to be able to come out with a feature film, like an actual movie, not with acting, not a documentary, not a film where we do investigate, like an actual movie. And so, we got a lot of things cooking, and it's all based off of this idea of presenting stories to the world. And it's just what you said there, though, is so beautiful. I almost wanted to end the episode right there. I was like, that's perfect.
We got another subject to talk about.
We got so many subjects to talk about. Let's hang on a second. You know what? You're coming back up in a week.
Yeah.
Let's do let's do those treasure hunting stories for a whole other episode.
Okay.
Because this is 2 hours and 10 minutes so far.
Yeah.
And that treasure hunting stuff is going to be a wild one because I want to get into it.
Okay.
So this is going to be a two-part recording. So before we get out of here, and the reason why I'm doing this is because it's almost 9:00 at night and I'm really getting tired. I'm really getting tired. And you got a 13-hour drive ahead of you tomorrow.
2K's calling me right now.
Yeah. Well, no. I thought you said 2 kids at first.
No.
2K.
Well, they probably are.
No,
They've adopted me.
They better be in bed. No, but listen, I think because the way this conversation went, I think it would be such a hard left turn. Let's make it a whole other episode. And since you're coming back, like I got to go to Pennsylvania for my sister's wedding. When I come back, you'll be back. We're going to be finishing the film. We'll sit down. We'll record a whole treasure hunting. We'll do your stuff. We'll do the stuff that we talked about doing together. We'll just go all in on it. What do you say?
Yeah, the parallels with Treasure Legends, the paranormal, like it's all there.
Oh, I love it. I freaking love it. Listen, Dense Run in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
I did an episode on it, and people freaking loved it. They love treasure hunting stuff. I love treasure hunting stuff.
Was that KGC?
Yeah,
Knights of the Golden Circle.
Well, that was part of it.
Okay.
Did you not listen to that episode, bro?
I think I did a long time ago.
Bro, it's one of my best episodes ever.
Okay.
I'm not kidding you.
Okay.
And you as a treasure hunter would love it. If you didn't listen to it, you have to listen to it on the way back tomorrow to Texas.
Okay.
I'm telling you, you'll love it. I forget what I broadcast it last year.
Yeah.
I think it's like called Lost Gold of Dense Run or something like that. Crazy.
It's the one where they came back and it was missing.
Yeah. The FBI took and stuff. Yeah. And so anyways, I love treasure hunting. And it's something I always wanted to break into, whether it's talking about it, learning about it, doing it. And you're a legit treasure hunter. You've been on the Curse of Oak Island, the TV show, which everybody knows I love that freaking TV show. And it's just like, I love the idea of finding mysteries and going out. Hey, stop doing that. It's clicking the mic.
Love it.
But I love the idea of going out, looking for mysteries, looking for lost things, lost civilizations, lost architecture, lost treasures. And so we're going to do a whole other recording with you when you get back on that. And maybe what we'll probably wind up doing is releasing like this as a public show, and then your treasure hunting stuff as a member show. Probably is probably how it's going to go. Or maybe I'll just make it an overtime, one of the two. But I'm not gonna broadcast you 2 Tuesdays in a row. So just in case the people don't like you again.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, I'm shy. Don't do that.
Oh, you know, you strike me as a shy person until I get to know you, and then you open up. You open up. But listen, before we get out of here, is there anything you want to promote and stuff though? I mean, I kind of put you on the spot there with that, but I mean, do you want to talk about Merkel Media? No, just kidding. Promote my own stuff. No. Is there anything though that you can tell people where to find you on social media? Hey, social media has been killing you recently. Like your Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck, bro?
I dropped from so like when I was on tour, I would get, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 likes on a photo. And it's since dropped into like the 20s. And so I always assumed that I did something on accident to get myself banned.
Yeah.
Something happened.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Like, I think the algorithms have changed and stuff. You're too nice of a guy to get banned. But
I don't know what happened. I post a lot of travel photos.
Yeah, because you travel the world.
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff. I post some behind the scenes photos of you. If you want some, I've posted a few photos of our stuff.
Oh yeah.
So if you want a behind the scenes look on a few things, I may post stuff here and there. Most active on Instagram. People can find me at christianbroper.com or at christianbroper on pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Not always active, but
you're always lurking.
I try to. I'm always lurking.
You're always lurking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll look at your.
You send me tweets, and I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at that right now.
It's crazy because I look at your social media and it's a ghost town. Like sometimes like you won't post forever, but you'll always be sending me links from social media. like you're out there lurking in the shadows. You're like, oh, I'm watching what everybody's saying, but you're not saying anything.
Instagram, they don't like if you don't post reels now, I think.
Yeah, it's video based.
I've always stuck to posting photos. I'll post travel photos and all kinds of stuff. And I guess I need to put more video content out there.
For sure.
Which is, I mean, it's weird that like what I do full time now is video, and then I never post any videos about myself.
It's about to change, man, because you're gonna get your butt up here. You got an awesome girlfriend. You're gonna, listen, y'all gonna get married one day. and then you're going to move up here to Tennessee real soon. If she's listening right now, I'm telling you, I'm not going to say your name because I don't want to, but I'm just saying you and Christian need to move up here like now. So like when you graduate college, you need to come up here. Okay. All right. Anyways, Christian, I appreciate you hopping on here with me and hanging out. We talked about this for like the last 3 weeks and it came down to the night before you leave. But I'm glad it did though, because we have so much that happened just this week.
Yeah.
We had some good stories for people. And hopefully people enjoyed the conversation. And when we have you back on, we're going to dive deep into the treasure hunting and the docuseries you're working on, the different legends and reincarnation type stuff. Like
reincarnated pirates.
Reincarnated pirates. There is so much that you buried on the first recording with me. Like you're like, oh yeah, I have a paranormal experience. Oh, here's one more. And everybody's like, this show sucks. And then like I'm hanging out with you and I'm like, bro, like your whole life is amazingly interesting and you didn't share any of that. You just shared the crappy stories that everybody hated. Like
I was so nervous. I was like, I'm talking to Tony Merkel.
And then there's a tornado going around you.
2 years later, I'm living in his basement.
Pretty much. The kids think that you're their uncle.